We are DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. We're here every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you for liking, following, and sharing the show. We are, as usual, ready to go. We've got producer Robbie West bringing up the rear in about 30 minutes. In the meantime, you'll have to put up with my incompetent use of the board. But Robbie did school me on how to try to avoid packet loss. So hopefully, whatever that is, I don't even know. They threw me out of engineering school, and with good reason. I think that was like one of the better things, one of the better bad things that happened to me that was good for society. You would never want to drive across a bridge that I designed. Okay, so let's move on. We have lots to talk about. Please, as usual, chime in with your questions and comments if you're watching live on Rumble or YouTube, and thank you for doing that. By the way, if you want to comment, we are thinking about possibly figuring out a way to take voice calls. So if that's something that sounds stupid or annoying or sounds great, we'd love to hear your opinions about that. Ukraine, it looks like Trump is turning his attention to the conflict there. There's a 28-point plan that appears to be gaining some traction in light of domestic events there in Ukraine. We'll get into that. There's a special military delegation on there en route to Kyiv. So they're there. And then, John, there's a story that I'm sure you'll have some Robert Hansen related thoughts about. An FBI whistleblower has stepped forward. You helped inspire a lot more whistleblowers have occurred as a result. Anyway, it turns out that this is kind of crazy. When I read the story, I was like, wait, what? So basically, the FBI is decided that they have a counter-espionage cell, which is in charge of looking for moles. But, they're exempting the executives.
Yes.
So, because after all, it's not like a high-ranking executive of the FBI has ever turned out to be a mole.
Oh, never, right? Never would that happen. May I interrupt you for a second?
Please.
I went to an event last night. It was a book launch for the two IRS whistleblowers who blew the whistle on Hunter Biden's income tax evasion. Right? They were specifically told, don't look at the laptop. And they're like, what are they, crazy? Their bosses? Of course we're going to look at the laptop. And they found that he spent $10,000 at a sex club and tried to write it off as a deduction, line iteming it as golf club membership. Right, a golf country club membership. It was a sex club. He spent $10,000 in one night in a sex club.
I was going to say, how much sex can one man have?
Well, you're on that much meth,
I could see having $6,000 worth of sex in one night.
When you're on that much meth. But the reason I'm bringing this up is, well, first of all, these guys were very kind to me last night. And Brad Birkenfeld was there. There were a bunch of whistleblowers, and that we inspired them to go public. They knew it was going to cost them their careers. But Senator Grassley was there. Chairman Comer was there. Chairman Jordan was there. And the Secretary of the Treasury, Besant, was there. And I'll tell you what, man, when I blew the whistle on the torture program, I stood alone. And now the fact that there are all these political people saying, it's unacceptable to treat whistleblowers this way, I loved it. Now, the bad part,
we still need a shield law.
We still need a shield law. And the bad part of this is every one of those people I just mentioned is a Republican. It looks like I froze, doggone it.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, good.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Every one of those people was a Republican that I just mentioned. There were no Democrats there at all. Democrats at all. And then, as it so happened,
imagine in 1979 that being the case?
Ridiculous. As it so happened, while I was there, I got a call from Fox News, and they asked if I would go over to the studio and do a hit at 8:30 on the Jesse Waters show. I said, sure. What do you want me to talk about? And they said, we want you to talk about this advertisement that the Democrats, 6 Democratic members of Congress have come out with, led by Alyssa Slotkin, the former CIA analyst who I used to work with on Iraq. She's now a senator from Michigan. They did this advertisement geared directly at the military saying, remember, you have to disobey an illegal order. You have to disobey. Be strong. Disobey illegal orders. This is just a shot at Trump, right? Because they want people to believe that Trump is going to refuse to leave the White House. It's ridiculous. It's because the Democrats don't stand for anything that they're doing something like this. So Slotkin and I happen to be walking in the building at the same time. I said, hi, Alyssa. And she just looks at me and then turns her head. And I was like, okay. That just made me, Ted, it made me so angry. I went on Fox and I eviscerated her and the Democrats. So I go on.
Rightly so.
I said, why do you think, he says to me, why do you think the Democrats are doing this? And I said, because they have no ideas and because they stand for nothing. This is the whole Democratic platform. It's vote for me because I'm not the other guy. I say it all the time on my own show. I said, vote for me because I'm not the other guy. And I said, and how rich is it? Excuse me, because I'm in a bad mood this morning.
It's okay. It's more fun for us.
How rich is it that when I was arrested after blowing the whistle on the illegal and immoral torture program, it was the Democrats that went after me, not the Republicans. But now they want everybody to refuse to follow illegal orders.
No, it's bad. John, let me, apropos of that. So I had a job interview at Vox, which is a democratically oriented, news site. This was several years ago, and they told, and basically, I had done a piece. They had commissioned a cartoon journalism piece from me. And in that, and anyway, long story short, in that I said, something about like the CIA claims that. And they said, oh, we have a problem with that. It's like it is our editorial policy, my editor told me, that anything the Intelligence Committee says is taken as fact.
Oh my God.
And I said, what? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm old school. I think if your mother says she loves you, you check it out. You're a journalist. You don't take anyone. And besides which, the CIA's job is in many cases to dissemble and lie. I mean, they have to.
Yeah, right.
And so he was like, but anyway, the point of the story is not to complain about the corruption of Vox, but really the point is democratically, things have changed, right? When you have Democrats acting the way you describe, Democratic journalists acting the way I describe. I mean, the Democrats climbed up the ass of the intelligence community. Why and how did that happen? Because I didn't notice it happening, before it happened or while it was happening.
Yeah, that's a good question. It used to be when nobody from the CIA would ever run for elective office unless they had been in the CIA for a minute and then decided it wasn't for them, like Porter Goss. Porter Goss was in the CIA for 4 years. He was a failed case officer. He moved to Florida, became a multimillionaire real estate developer, and then got himself elected to Congress, became chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and then went back to be an absolutely terrible, historically terrible CIA director. But time was when that was really highly unusual. And now it seems like people at the CIA, like everybody envisions himself or herself as governor of Virginia or a member of Congress. Or I remember when Will Hurd resigned to run for Congress, I said, Will, that's not really a step up to run for Congress. What are you doing? And he ran, he won. He won 3 terms.
Tried to recruit me to run for Congress, and I told him the same thing.
Yeah. Will won 3
before
terms.
He stepped down.
Yeah. And then quit. Yeah. He realized.
Thanks, FUSO, for the $1 and the comment. Also, thanks to Hyperneurotic for the $2 and the advice about avoiding packet loss, which I still don't really understand. All right, here's a question for you, John.
Okay.
This is from Froid, as I'm going to pronounce it, 6624. When an agency recruits someone as high level as a president,
Okay.
How do you keep them in check? I would think that they don't need the money anymore. An example would be Jelani.
That's a great question. And it's a rather important question.
It is a good question.
9 times out of 10, you actually recruit the person when they're a junior level nobody, and then they rise through the system and they become president or prime minister or defense minister or foreign minister. When that happens, you just kind of put them on ice. You cut off contact while they're president or prime minister. And if they have something important to say, they'll ask to see the U.S. ambassador. The U.S. ambassador knows that's a signal to bring you along, and then you collect the intelligence while the ambassador pretends not to listen in the corner of the room. Otherwise, if it's somebody like Jelani, for example, or now we know Hamid Karzai, the CIA station chief just goes straight into the office and, does the meeting. Suitcases full of money and all that good stuff.
But how do you keep them and how do you keep that person, how do you run them without them getting out of control?
Well, look at Manuel Noriega. He went out of control. And you see what the U.S. response was. The U.S. response was to essentially overthrow him, kidnap him, occupy his country, and put him in prison for the rest of his life. And that's really what it comes out to.
It's like, you're fired. Thanks, Toby, for the $2 Australian and the thought. Agree, pardon, John. Marble, thanks for the $4.99. Soylent Green, indeed.
Yeah. Soylent Green is people. Just remember that.
It's very important to remember that. Thanks for the $5 to 7371. Mojor. Just first heard about the Huckabee Pollard story from you guys first, and also Pod Save America. It's not in any of my news apps. Wow. Why do you think that is?
See,
that's a good question.
That is a good question.
It's always, like I say, it's never about what they say. It's usually not about what they say. It's usually about what they don't say.
Yeah. It should be. It should be on the above the fold, page 1 of every news publication in America today. And you're right, it's not.
Morrow, thanks for the $5. Any thoughts on doing a live show and meet and greet in the New York, New Jersey area? I'd be totally down. So
I would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I'm local.
I'd love to do that.
Razmataz, I am very sorry, but John already did the Alec Baldwin story yesterday. You just go back over on Rumble and you can listen to it over there. Thanks for the $1 FUSO. Democrats are the Seinfeld party, a party about nothing. That's funny.
Oh, that's good. I wish I had thought of that.
But that would be more entertaining.
Yeah, that would be more entertaining. But that's a really great one-liner. I think I might steal that. Who said that?
Sorry, I'm scrolling.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that's okay. I'll find it.
It's FUSO.
Excellent. That's excellent, FUSO. I'm gonna take that.
That is very, very funny. Okay. Some criticism. You complain about them not standing up for anything, says Sneaker Dad. And when you do, you complain. I don't know when. What, really? Be more specific, please.
I don't see that one.
Here, I'll put it back up.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry. I'm like having. It's so hard to. Here we go. I'm putting it up. It's up.
Thanks. I still don't see it, but that's okay. I'll find it.
Oh, it's you have to be watching on I guess on Rumble.
Okay, on Rumble.
I'm doing this through Rumble Studio.
Okay.
Thanks, Ray, about your comment about my cartoon. I was pretty pleased with that. I didn't know if it's about pointing out the fact that food stamps are back, but all the food stamps are going to do is allow people to buy more crap food that's going to give them health problems that they're not going to be able to pay for by going to go to the doctor.
May I interrupt for 1 second?
Please.
Now I'm right now seeing Sneaker Dad. I complain about them not standing up for anything, and when they do, I complain. What do they stand for?
Yeah, that's
literally name one thing that the Democrats have actually stood up for. I'm waiting.
Yeah,
I told you, I've said in the past, I was a third generation Democrat. And when they turned into the Republicans, I walked. And now they're worse than the Republicans.
My mom took me door to door, leafleting, pamphleteering for George McGovern in 1972.
Sure.
And I worked for Democratic campaigns. I was youth coordinator for Dukakis in 1988. I was as Democrat as they come. I was true blue, but I'm with you, John. They don't fucking stand for. They're Republicans now.
Yeah, they're Republicans, especially on these war and peace issues.
FUSO wants to know from how much is the CIA involved in the color revolution in Mexico against the socialist president?
I've received a couple of emails from friends in Mexico about this, and I would have to say that they probably are involved, just because this thing looks too perfectly set up. I don't have any evidence on which to base that, but it looks like something's going on in Mexico. And there's also a question from I just saw it from there are two. One from Sean Whitman. I've been watching you for a year. Love your insight. Thank you. A recent post by the Majority Report says Trump may have been an FBI informant. Do you think this is possible? Absolutely. Absolutely possible. Because listen, 99.9 times out of 100, when the FBI goes to someone and says, we're the FBI, we're doing an investigation and we need your help, they're going to say, of course I'll help. I'm a patriotic American. Of course I'll help the FBI. And so over the course of all those years, with Trump bumping up against organized crime in New York, for example, foreign oligarchs and billionaires, absolutely. I would be shocked if he had not been a source for the FBI.
No, that's an interesting. Yeah, well, that's a good point, right? No, he definitely was so crime adjacent.
Yes.
Greg, thanks so much for the $5, and he said he would fly out to a meet and greet with John. What?
Oh, I would.
Not
totally
for me. You just take the bus.
I would totally do that. We should set it up.
All right. Well, hey, listen. By the way, if you guys, if you're listening or watching, and you have access to a venue that could sponsor an appearance by John, me, both of us, one of us, just reach out to us. We can. We need, what we always need is we need a venue, and ideally an honorarium, and transportation. And that's not so hard. People will do that. People can make money by having us come out. I mean, it's like they can sell tickets and they can make a profit. I mean, that's fine. So that's how this used to work. I don't know why it's so complicated now.
Seriously.
Anyway, here we go. Phil says, and I disagree with this, but I want to put up stuff that I put up stuff that I disagree with. It's my understanding that Dems lost their old school base when they went way left. That's when they lost the moderates, their long-term supporters.
I would strongly disagree with that. I think they went way right. They walked away from organized labor. They embraced wars of choice. I think they moved solidly to the right.
That's my take as well. I think what really happened is they started chasing corporate contributions in the 90s. I mean, Bernie Sanders talks about this quite eloquently and at length, and I think extremely credibly. And I think that's what happened. And then once you start to take their money, you have to take their calls and you have to do what they want. Morrow, thanks for the $4.99. Any thoughts on? Oh, sorry. Oh, we already have that one. Tobby J, thanks for the $5. Any thoughts on Candace Owens investigating Charlie Kirk's death? I kind of touched on this yesterday. But.
Yeah. I really want to like Candace Owens since she's come around on Palestine, but she's just so nutty. And she makes these wild accusations like the Egyptian military following Charlie Kirk's wife. They're not based on anything. There's no evidence of any of this stuff that she's saying. So I wouldn't even call this an investigation.
Thank you for saying that. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
It's just bullshitting. It's just talking.
Yeah.
It's spitballing is what it is.
Spitballing. Right? I like that.
All right. So should we talk about Ukraine? I mean, obviously, this is a story that has been going on long enough that you and I were in very different places of employment and places in our lives when it all started.
Seriously.
And it's kind of still in a weird way surprising to me that it ever came to that, and that it's still grinding on. There's so much about it that surprises me, and also how this became this crazy cause célèbre. And I mean, I can go on and on. It's weird to me that the Ukrainians provoked it. It's weird to me that the Russians allowed themselves to be provoked. It's weird to me that the Russians didn't close the deal. It's weird that the entire Western world decided to make this the hill that they wanted to have their economy die on. The whole thing is weird. The Nord Stream is weird, how it went down, the whole thing. But anyway, so currently Zelensky, we've talked about this. Everybody who listens to this show knows that he has this buddy, Timur Mindich, who's basically running like the Enron of Ukraine and causing rolling blackouts. And he's, he and his minions are basically suspected of stealing at least 100 million people, maybe more, from Ukraine. And so far Zelensky himself dollars, right, from the investigation. But Zelensky is obviously politically weak. He's back on his heels right now. And so a lot of people are speculating, and I kind of agree with their speculation, that Trump used this as an opportunity to kind of push through a deal that otherwise Ukraine might not agree to. And basically, it's the deal that we kind of know all along. It's mostly a deal that favors Russia, where the existing lines now, John, what's happening is the existing lines are kind of, the Ukrainians accept that they've lost that territory and it's never coming back. They're saying that they don't want to cede additional territory that is not yet under Russian control.
Right. Isn't this exactly what we have all said from the very beginning, that the Ukrainians are going to have to walk away from the territory where most people are native Russian speakers. So Donetsk and Luhansk, they're going to have to walk away from Crimea, which has only been Ukrainian since 1953 anyway.
Right.
We've all said that from the very beginning, and they couldn't join NATO, but they could join fast track the European Union. And that's exactly what this thing's going to turn out to be.
Missiles and not maybe demilitarization, but reduced militarization. By the way, that's Russia and the U.S. doing Ukraine a favor. I wish someone would tell the U.S. to cut its military in half so that we could start feeding the homeless.
Seriously. Totally agree.
So, I mean, if you don't want to be like North Korea, where all of your resources go into the military. But anyway, all right. So how this looks like, obviously the Trump administration is putting some oomph behind it, right? They're sending the Secretary of the Army and General Randy George off to Kyiv
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal, right? So it seems to me like, and we had Trump today or yesterday saying, I've already fixed 8 wars. I'm working on the 9th one. So funny. I mean, maybe tell the Palestinians who keep getting blown up every day.
Yeah, he confuses ceasefires for, the ends of wars.
Yeah, they're not
two different things.
Not the same thing. But, look, ceasefires are always appreciated, but nevertheless. So, all right. So what happens now? It looks like Zelensky is chastened. It looks like he's more, but on the other hand, you never know with him because he's such a weasel. Over the last year or so, we've seen him go from oh no, I'm serious about peace to, but I'm only serious about peace if I don't have to give up any territory at all. Right.
The thing about Zelensky, I think he's at the point now where he's wondering, number one, if he can make it to the end of the Trump administration, which he can't. We have 3 years to go. And number two, even if he could, will another Republican win and put him out of business, or will a Democrat come in and rescue him and save him? I learned just recently that he actually owns a home in Greece. I've been thinking that he would end up in London. but he's got a home in Greece as well. And I wonder if he's at the point where he's just throwing up his hands and saying, I give up. I'm going to get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, look, he always had to know that this was not a permanent gig, even though he did cancel the election.
Yes. Yes, he did.
Yeah. But as he says, he has no choice. I love that. He declares martial law. Martial law means no elections. He's like, well, what can I do? My hands are tied. Martial law. Ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous. Ridiculous is right. But, the fact that such a senior delegation is going to Ukraine tells me that something's up. It looks like Trump is serious about forcing this. And Zelensky realizes he just doesn't have any more cards to play.
Hilarious. F you so. But Trump ended the clone wars, the wars of Middle Earth.
Where's his Nobel Peace Prize?
Trump ended all the wars. Yeah. It's yeah. Okay. So do you think, so you say I mean, what do you want to care to handicap this? I mean, so what happens next? I mean, I would say Trump ceasefire comes first, right? So
it's going to have to be kind of a cascading series of things. You announce a ceasefire, you announce elections, Zelensky leaves the country, they have the elections, the new parliament ratifies whatever deal is made in the end, and then the thing's finally over with Zelensky living in exile with the hundreds of millions of dollars that he's looted from the Ukrainian treasury or from the U.S. government.
Which is the same thing these days.
Same thing, yeah.
Well, I mean, so here's the thing. Like, Russia has basically been driving a very hard bargain. And I wonder, you and I talked a little bit about how maybe Putin wasn't really reading Trump. I mean, I think Trump was, he kind of missed the point. Like, Trump really wants a deal. He doesn't care about the specific details. Vladimir Putin, as anyone who's ever watched him speak knows, he's all about detail. I mean,
yeah.
that man is like, there is not one wrinkle in his shirt. There is not, every I is dotted, every T is crossed just so. I think maybe it was a cultural thing that kind of like stopped us from getting to this point. I mean, I think Trump would have loved to just have a broad outlines of a peace deal, a year ago.
Yes.
And then just sort of like work out the details later.
Yeah.
But Russians don't roll that way.
I think that's exactly right. And Trump is very much not a detail person.
Right.
All through his entire career, he's made the very broad, policy call, whether it was his business policy or later on governmental policy, and then let the underlings deal with the details.
So I guess I'd want to answer this next question because I think it's really important for us to answer it. But also, while we're answering it, I mean, what's the future for Ukraine? I mean, like, let's just say this deal goes through. I mean, I actually think it's going to benefit Ukraine, but in the long run, because they're going to be rid of their restive population in the East who are ethnically Russian and really never should have been in Ukraine post 1991 anyway. And they're going to have a more culturally and politically unified nation state. But
yeah. I should add too that the Washington Post, it says the U.S. is signaling Zelensky that if he does not sign this thing by Thursday,
oh wow,
that our support ends. That's the end of it. Ends.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he's coming to Jesus.
Yeah.
So Sudva, here's the question that I alluded to. Uh-huh. Are you guys pro-Ukraine or pro-Russia? I can't tell who is more evil, Putin or Satan. Russia's game has always been having ethnic Russians live in Ukraine and take over Putin equals evil cousin to the devil.
Okay. Frankly, it's not my area of expertise. I've been clear about this for years. I really don't so much care for either side. I don't really care. I'm far more focused on the Middle East, but on this fight, I don't have a dog in this fight.
I like first and foremost, I'm a humanist and I care about people, and I don't like unnecessary conflict. And so toward that end, I'm always obsessed with systems and whether systems work or not. And the breakup of the Soviet Union left a lot of nation states that didn't quite work well. And that division between Ukraine and Russia didn't work. And that's why they've been on and off again with fighting since pretty much since 2014, and there was conflict before that. Look, as far as I'm concerned, Russia is an autocracy, and it's like I would not be able to thrive there doing what I do, and that's a problem. So at that said, I love the Russian people. I like the Ukrainian people too. The Ukraine has a Nazi coddling problem. It really does. I would have to say historically, I'm kind of like, as a student of World War II, I recall the fact that, Ukrainians were guarding Auschwitz and the Red Army liberated Auschwitz. So, but it's been a long time since 1945. So, what we need is for people to get along and live in peace side by side as much as possible. I mean, that's my bias as it is. And I do think also I kind of grew up with, like you did, with spheres of influence.
Yeah.
And I kind of buy the fact that if you're a huge country, which Russia is, you don't really have to put up with nonsense around your borders.
Yeah.
If you're the US, you don't put up with nonsense from Canada or Mexico. Don't get too spicy. Yes, you're a nation state. Yes, you have sovereignty, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's part of it is because of just the way I grew up during the Cold War.
During the Cold War, I had the same experience. I think that's right.
I mean, I also think, like, if I were the president of Russia, here's the thing: if I were the president of Russia, would I have done anything differently than Vladimir Putin? Even though I'm a leftist, no. I would have invaded too, because it would have been like, you guys are out of control and you're in bed with my enemy, NATO. If I was the president of Ukraine, would I have done what Zelensky did? No, I would have made nice. So, because it's like you have this huge country,
yes,
that used to own you,
yes,
right next door,
yes,
and it's paranoid.
Don't piss them off.
And yeah, Russia doesn't. What people don't understand about Russia is they're paranoid because they have no natural geographical barriers that protect their territory.
Right.
They just have open steppes. It's easy. They don't have giant ass mountains to protect them or two huge oceans like we do. That's the issue. That's why they're paranoid.
Hey, we've got a good question from Cooper Duper 23. How common is nepotism in intelligence, CIA, FBI, other unknown agencies? That was always a real beef of mine. It was a serious beef of mine, not necessarily nepotism from parent to child, although you see like entire families in the CIA. It's not uncommon at all. I worked with a guy when I first got hired. His dad was a senior officer in the senior intelligence service. His mom they were both in the directorate of operations, his mom and dad. And then he got hired, then his brother got hired, then his sister got hired. The whole family working in the CIA. I sat next to a guy whose younger brother got hired right out of grad school, and then his younger sister got hired when she finished grad school.
Would the agency naturally trust you more if you came from a family of CIA royalty? Yes. Like that?
Yeah, you have a leg up there. But I'll tell you what I really objected to. I remember one of my bosses saying, "Hey, are you looking forward to the promotion panels?" I was up for a GS, I forget what, 13 or 14. And I said, "No, actually, I'm not." He said, "Why not?" I said, "Because I know they have only 6 slots to promote. And I know that so-and-so, who's a member of the promotion panel, is fucking this woman that I'm competing against. And I know that she's going to get promoted because he's fucking her." I said, "I know how things work around here." And sure enough, she got promoted and I got passed over. And then the deputy director for operations gave me an out-of-cycle promotion because I had gotten screwed. But
John,
that's what's common.
Gotcha. I've got an ad to read. Brooke Burke, a fixture in the entertainment and wellness industries for decades, known for her roles in Dancing with the Stars and Wild On, is not one to shy away from the spotlight, but shortly after she turned 50, despite her expertise, the fitness icon suddenly found herself battling a body that seemed to be working against her. Now Brooke is opening up publicly about her experience because it's 1 millions of women face unexplained weight gain, muscle loss, and declining energy, and she's revealing how she discovered one thing that made her leaner, stronger, and healthier than ever. She says today at 53, she feels amazing and her abs are tighter than they were 10 years ago. What changed for her was she began biohacking and discovered she needed more protein, but not just any protein, one specific protein, which was a total game changer. And when she found it, she says, it was like uncovering a secret weapon for weight management and muscle gain. Everything changed. I'm leaner and stronger than I've been in my whole life. She's sharing this with the world both women and men can learn all about this revolutionary protein. Click the link in the chat or scan the QR code on screen in order to watch. Okay. Good enough. Okay. So, any cooler talk? FUSO wants to know, and was there any water cooler talk at the CIA about aliens and alien craft retrieval?
No. No, nothing. We always figured that was the Pentagon's bailiwick.
John, you want to take a critical comment?
Sure.
You're a big boy, right?
I'm a big boy. I can take it.
Here we go. It's up on YouTube. I like John in general. This is from Light Fixing, but his apologism for Russia is fucking pathetic. How can you be against Israel's aggression and not Russia's? No.
Are you crazy? Listen, on the morning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, I said on my radio show on a Russian fucking network, and these were my exact words, I unreservedly condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine and I urge Russian troops to leave Ukrainian territory immediately. So don't give me this nonsense about being pro-Russian. Because that's what it is. It's nonsense.
I've known John for years, and I just don't think there's any credibility, any grounds for that.
That's outrageous.
Evil Robot Army, thanks for the $5 over on YouTube. John, did you ever interact with NRO? Is it common for people to move between the letter agencies, or do careers tend to stay in one agency? And maybe explain what the NRO is.
Also a good question. NRO is the National Reconnaissance Office. They manage and interpret the overhead photography from our satellite system. It was very common, actually, for us to liaise with NRO or for NRO analysts to transfer over to the CIA, to the Directorate of Intelligence. My second wife actually began her career as an NRO analyst. It is, I'm going to say, not uncommon for people to transfer from NSA to CIA or from FBI to CIA, occasionally from DIA to CIA, but it's very, very rare for CIA officers to go somewhere else because we had this idea that we were the top of the heap. And if you were to go to any other agency, it was a step down. I did work with a guy. He was a young branch chief when I was a new analyst, and he got passed over for a GS-15 and left in a fit of pique and went over to the Pentagon, and within 5 years was the Assistant Secretary of Defense for POW MIA affairs. So that worked out very well for him. But otherwise, yeah, it's not uncommon for other agencies to transfer to the CIA. It's highly uncommon to go from CIA to other agencies.
I think only a small fraction of 1% of Americans even know that there are other intelligence agencies beside the CIA, and if you count them, the FBI.
Yeah.
Or NSA. And there's so many. I love this question. Thank you so much, Hamza. John, what was the reaction of your parents when you joined the agency?
Oh, my parents were beside themselves with worry. My parents had this vision of the agency from, like, you know, James Bond movies or something. I did have to tell my dad at one point. I was stationed in Athens, and my dad like stood up in church one Sunday and announced that I was an undercover CIA officer in Athens. So if anybody needed any help in the American embassy there, they could just call me. And so one day, all these people from church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, started calling me at my desk in the station in Athens, asking for help getting their relatives' visas. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And so I called my mom and she's like, I told him not to say anything. I said, Dad, you're going to get me killed. I'm undercover here. It's a critical threat for terrorism post. Nobody is supposed to know that I'm in the CIA. If word leaks out, and now it's out, I could get killed. I said, what are you doing? And so every person who called, I had to say, my dad has a touch of dementia. I'm not with the CIA. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then finally, it just kind of died a quiet death.
Parents can really fuck you up.
He was so proud of me that he just came out with it in church.
Oh my God. That's so funny. That's like my mom on my very first book signing for my very first book. She bum rushed the stage like she was at a Run DMC concert, and basically we're like, I'm his mom. I'm so proud. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
You know what? My college roommate, Eddie Horowitz, Eddie got an internship with Senator Tom Harkin, who's a progressive Democrat from Iowa. And his mom and stepdad came to Washington, and he scheduled a courtesy call on Senator Harkin. And Tom Harkin was just the loveliest guy in the world, you know, just a sweet guy. His power authority never went to his head. So he was very happy to meet Eddie's mom and stepdad. So he took them to Harkin's office, and Harkin says, you know, Eddie worked so hard for us, and he worked on the campaign, and we're really appreciative of all the things that he does for us here in the office. And she goes like this to Eddie. She goes like this. She says, all I want is that he should be a good boy. And he's like, Mom, I'll never forget it.
That's so awesome. I really love this question from Frasmataz. I have a lot to say about this, but you should go first because of that, John. Frasmataz is asking, is the POW MIA, that black iconic flag, the same thing? I've always heard that was disinformation, like John Bircher, LaRouche stuff. Yes. That we had no soldiers left in Vietnam. That's yes.
I see. I have always found it very, very hard to believe that we have anybody in Vietnam.
We did.
Very hard to believe.
I mean, that flag is still in front of U.S. post offices. It's all over the country. It's all, you know, you see it everywhere, right? And there's that image of like the watchtower, with like by the way, if you look carefully, the guard has the little, it's Vietnamese peasant, pointy Vietnamese peasant hat, like in the watchtower. And it's the MIA aspect. And I mean, there certainly are MIAs, right? But like they're conflating POWs, and the implication is that there are Americans being held like in Rambo 37 somewhere by the dirty commies, like in the rice paddies,
right?
By the gooks. It's not true.
It's not true.
It's like, and like, Vietnam is lousy with American tourists. I would think at some point, American tourists would have like been backpacking through the jungle and would have been like, oh, look at that POW camp.
Yes.
Not to mention these fuckers would be like 80 years old now. I mean, the whole thing is but it feeds into this victim narrative that like really makes, that really drives a lot of American politics. Like everyone's picking on us. We're the victims of injustice. And it's just all deflection and distraction from the reality, which is that it's the exact opposite.
Yes, indeed. I just I've never believed it. Now, if they went out into the jungle and started doing a dig, might they stumble upon, bones or bone fragments?
Sure.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Ted, breaking news. Sofia Negroponte, the daughter of former DNI John Negroponte, was convicted again of murder after killing her boyfriend. I think we've talked about this in the past. Sofia Negroponte, I'll tell you, I met her when she was 6 years old. When I worked for John Negroponte at the United Nations, he was the ambassador of the United Nations during George W. Bush. She was just a little girl. The ambassador and Mrs. Negroponte had adopted Sofia and her sister from Honduras. They were like 6 and 4 when I met them. She grew up, she's 32 now. She grew up to have a very serious drinking problem. And several years ago, she was drunk and at a mutual friend's home with her boyfriend in Rockville, Maryland. They got into an argument and she stabbed him in the neck. And she killed him.
Fuck.
She went to the kitchen, took out a knife and stabbed him in the neck and killed him. And then her housemates called 911. The cops came. She said that she didn't realize what she was doing, but she did it. She confessed she did it. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done it. They arrested her. They charged her with second-degree murder. She was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Then she appealed, and she won the appeal. It was something about jury instructions. And so the trial restarted 2 weeks ago. This time, her attorneys offered up DNA evidence saying that she did not stab him, that it wasn't her DNA on the knife. It was somebody else's DNA. But then everybody else in the house said, no, she jumped on him. She knocked him down. She sat on his chest and she stabbed him in the neck with the knife. And so just now she was convicted again.
Okay. And
she's facing again life without parole.
What a bizarre story.
Bizarre. And Ambassador Negroponte, it says now he's 86 years old. He and his wife, Diana, sat in the first row of the courtroom every single day. This trial and the previous trial, they're heartbroken. I last saw her. I was invited to a Christmas party at his house in like 2008 or 9. I think it was 8. And I haven't seen them since. But yeah, this is going to be tough for anybody.
No doubt.
Wow.
I'm being asked by Ali, why don't I do many podcasts and such? Well,
you want some of mine? I've got 5 today.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's like the rules of being a vampire. You have to be invited. So if people invite me, I will go. But if I'm not invited, I'm not going to go. Yeah, whatever. So, let's see here.
Toby, thank you for the $2. Can I share more about my masterclass? Yes, I'm going to send out another announcement today on Substack, and I'm going to put it on Twitter as well. I'll put it on Facebook too. So I'm doing a surveillance and surveillance detection class, but we're extending it to 8 different pods. I'll do 3 on surveillance and surveillance detection, and we're going to do 5 on cybersecurity and how to protect yourself and your computer systems. We're doing it in conjunction with Bay Path University in Massachusetts. So I'll send more information out today. Thanks for asking.
Okay. John, should we talk about this FBI story?
Yeah, let's talk about the FBI story. This is nuts.
So basically, insider inside the bureau is accusing the Internal Counterespionage Cell. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems like the counterintelligence branch,
That's
right?
Exactly what it is. Yep.
To make sure that there's no one working against America and the FBI within the FBI. No Robert Hansons. It turns out that they have a quote unquote executive exemption that prevents that cell from looking into fraud, allegations of fraud, retaliation, or espionage, even if there's a credible tip that comes in from another U.S. government agency. They've been anybody who's tried to violate this rule has been punished and basically retaliated against, ironically. And so this is starting to break now in the Washington Examiner and other right-wing media places. It's so far not getting much traction in democratically aligned stuff. And of course, obviously, you think right away about Robert Hanssen. Following Robert Hanssen, how could there be an exception for anyone up to and including the director?
Right? So Brian Kelly was a friend of mine at the CIA. He was a senior officer in the CIA's Counterintelligence Center. Robert Hanssen accused Brian of being the mole in the U.S. government. We knew that there was a second mole after Aldrich Ames was arrested. And Brian was not just suspended from the CIA, he was threatened with the death penalty. And his daughter was threatened with arrest if she wouldn't rat out her father. Well, Brian was completely innocent. The mole was actually Hanssen himself. And so finally, Hanssen, who was the head of the FBI's mole hunting unit, was arrested for being the mole and sentenced to life without parole. He died 2 years ago in his steel bunk in the Supermax in Florence, Colorado. So we know from history that Russian moles or Chinese moles or Cuban or Israeli or whomever can be in the FBI just as easily as they can be in the CIA or the Navy or wherever they happen to be. If what this whistleblower is telling us is true, this has to be dealt with swiftly and harshly. And the way things like this have been said,
it's obviously true.
It has to be true.
Because I mean, I'm a student of official corporate and government denials, right? Well, so the absence of a denial here means that it's true. I mean, there's no denial at all, right? They're not saying that's not true. We don't have such an exception.
Right.
I mean, by definition, it's true.
By definition, it is true. We know historically that it's true.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. And it's like, I mean, it's incredible, though. I mean, it's like nobody learns from history. I mean,
nobody learns from history.
If Hanssen gets access to the news in prison, he's got to be laughing his ass off.
Yeah. And Nicholson, get this. There was this asshole I used to work with in the Counterterrorism Center named Nicholson. And when Aldrich Ames got caught, it never occurred to Nicholson, A, that there was another mole, or B, that the CIA had moles in the KGB. So Nicholson was pissed off that he had been passed over for promotion. So he volunteered to the KGB to be a mole for them in the CIA. And he outed more than 120 undercover CIA officers to the KGB, all of whom had to be, as they say, brought in from the cold, so they could no longer be undercover. Nicholson was caught, was sentenced to 30 years. He did the 30 and he got out. So he's like living high on the hog now here in the Washington area, like everything's perfectly fine. But to make matters worse, when he was in prison, he asked his son to go visit him. And when his son went to visit him, I think it was in Oregon, he was in a federal prison in Oregon, he gave his son this list of additional names that he had thought of. And he told his son, give these names to the KGB and they'll give you some money, and hold the money so that when I'm released, I'll have a little nest egg to come home to.
Oh my God.
And the FBI caught the son.
Well, did they just search him like at prison, or did the son try to do this?
You can't pass stuff back and forth. The son was an idiot. He was going to do it. But the FBI caught him. And so they added like 5 years or 7 years onto Nicholson's prison term. So unrepentant. He did that. So totally unrepentant. Total traitor.
Unbelievable.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. Ridiculous.
I do kind of admire people who have the strength of their corrupt convictions. It's like, well, it's like, I know what I am and this is what I do. It's hilarious. Yeah. Oh my God, that's fantastic. How does military intelligence work? Paul wants to know.
Oh, well, that's a good question too. Military intelligence is normally very specific to order of battle intelligence. I half jokingly say all the time that my eyes would just glaze over when these guys would start their order of battle briefing. What order of battle means is they'll say elements of the 1st Army Corps are located here on the map, and elements of the, this group are over here, and then this platoon is positioned here to move north, and 13 kilometers, and none of that means anything to me.
You and I are so wired the same way. Like in history, I hate military histories.
Hate it.
Then the pincer movement, and
it's a traditional flanking movement.
34.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
care. I don't care.
Yeah, it's just not for me. But that's what they focus on. The bigger Phil Chat's hilarious. That makes my day. Andrew Bustamante found all the moles. That's great. But anyway, yeah, this military analysis, intelligence analysis, it means nothing to me. Thank God we have guys who love it.
Well,
because it's important.
It is important. No question.
It's not
just like military history is important.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously. It's just like, just because I'm not interested in something doesn't mean that it's not inherently interesting.
That's right.
Although there are things that I'm not interested in, and I think no one should be interested in, like curling. Why would you be into curling? I don't understand.
I like that. It looks very relaxing to me. But also, there are a couple of guys from my church, guys my age, pot bellies, and they went to the Greek embassy and they said, "Listen, we're all Greek Americans. We want to create the Greek Olympic curling team." And so they did in the last Winter Olympics 4 years ago. And so all these 50-year-old guys from church, they're doing curling. They didn't do well. They came in like 8th or 9th, but by God, they made it to the Olympics. I was so happy to watch them on TV. It made me very proud.
We have a quick Robbie announcement, and then we're closing out and moving on to the TMI show. Here we go. Robbie, you have an announcement for us.
Okay, quick announcement. Y'all been asking for it. Now you're going to get it. Y'all are going to be getting a deprogrammed merch store. It will be going live next week. It will go live on YouTube first. I will work on the way to make it go live over on Rumble. So you wanted it. Now you're going to get it.
Awesome.
And we're coming up with all kinds of things. And it's a good thing that we're friends with a graphic artist. That makes this easier.
Yes, I've heard that we know a guy like that. Thanks, Robbie. All right,
Thank you,
please
Robbie.
like, follow, and share the we're going to be back here tomorrow. We're going to be back here Monday. Monday through Friday. So we have the weekend off. It feels like I don't even know what to do with that. Anyway, 9 a.m. Eastern time, Monday morning, be here or be square. We'll be here all next week. Well, we'll figure out what we're doing about Thanksgiving. I guess we probably won't be here Thanksgiving. But we'll work all that out and let you know what's up with that. But we'll be here Monday. Thanks. And please stay tuned for the TMI show with Ted Rall and Manila Chan. That's half of that is me. And we'll stay right here. If you're in the Rumble room, it'll just happen automatically because it's weird like that. Anyway, take care, John. Nice seeing you.
You too, Ted. Have a good weekend.
You too.